The book of Esther, it doesn't kick off with our hero. Nope. It starts with the queen's spectacular fall from grace. We're going to dive right into the story of Queen Vashti, whose one decision, this single act of defiance, kicked off a chain of events that would change everything. And that really is the heart of it, isn't it? How can one word, no, not only topple a queen, but also completely change the course of an empire? It's a wild thought. And to really get how this happened, we've got to go back to the beginning. Back to the king who made the command in the first place. All right, so picture this. We're in the court of King Ahasuerus. You might know him as Xerxes I. And this guy is throwing the party of a lifetime. I mean, we're talking a massive 180-day festival. And the whole point, it was all designed for one single purpose, to flex, to show off just how rich and powerful his kingdom really was. So after days and days of this epic feast, lots of wine flowing, the king decides to summon Queen Vashti. But let's be super clear here. This wasn't a sweet, come join me kind of request. Oh no, the text is crystal clear. He wanted to put her beauty on display. Essentially, he wanted to treat her like just another jewel in his collection, another trophy for all his princes and guests to gawk at. And right here, this is the moment the entire story just pivots on a dime. The king has made his command, right? And in his world, he's expecting nothing less than instant, absolute obedience. But that is not what he gets. It's so simple, but so devastating. But the Queen Vashti refused to come. In a court where the king's word is absolute law, this one sentence, it's like a political earthquake. I mean, refusing a direct order from the most powerful man in the world, that wasn't just disobedient, it was completely unthinkable. Now, here's the interesting part. The text itself never actually tells us why she said no, and that has fueled centuries of debate. So was she just trying to protect her own dignity, like some scholars argue, refusing to be paraded around in what would have been a deeply humiliating display? Or was it something bigger, a rare, powerful act of self-determination in a world completely dominated by men? Honestly, we don't know for sure. But in that moment, her reasons didn't matter one bit to the king and his court. And this is where things just escalate immediately. The king is absolutely furious. His pride is completely shattered. But what starts out as a personal insult, a private no, is about to be expertly spun into a full-blown political crisis for the entire empire. See, the king's advisors, they smell an opportunity. They immediately jump in and reframe the whole situation. They basically tell him, look, Your Majesty, this isn't just about you anymore. If word gets out that the queen can say no to you, then what's to stop all the women in the empire from defying their husbands? It'll be total chaos. And just like that, they take her private act of defiance and blow it up into a public threat against the entire social order. I mean, it's a brilliant political move, you have to admit. They take a private act and make it public. They take a personal insult and frame it as a political rebellion. And the goal? So simple. Use this whole mess to double down and reinforce patriarchal control across the kingdom. As historian Pierre Briant points out, this whole episode shows us a legal system that's not really shaped by justice, but by pure political fear. So all this political maneuvering, it's all building towards one inevitable conclusion. Because you have to remember, in the Persian Empire, a royal decree was permanent. It could not be revoked. Once the king made a judgment, that was it. It was final. And that final judgment, it was about to come crashing down. And the verdict is just absolute. Vashti is to be stripped of her title, her royal position, and banished from the king's sight forever. The decree itself is so cold, so clinical. It basically says, get rid of her and give her royal estate unto another that is better than she. Wow, so she's not just punished, she is, for all intents and purposes, erased from the story.
So when you boil it all down, her downfall really comes from this toxic combination of two things. On one hand, you've got an incredibly insecure king whose ego has just been shattered into a million pieces. And on the other, you have this super rigid legal system that gives him the perfect, irreversible weapon to put his authority back on display. It's a total clash of personal pride and unbending law.
But there's another way to look at this whole story. If you zoom out and look at it from a theological perspective, this whole sequence of human drama, all the pride, the fear, the political games, it isn't the whole picture, not by a long shot. There's a sense that something else is at work here, an unseen hand creating an incredible opportunity out of all this chaos.
And this is where you can really see the incredible ripple effect of that one single no. Just follow the chain of events. Vashti's defiance sparks a massive political overreaction. That overreaction leads directly to her being banished forever. Her banishment creates a power vacuum, a vacancy on the throne. And that vacancy creates the perfect opening, the very stage upon which a young Jewish orphan named Esther is about to walk.
So when you look at it that way, the void that Vashti left behind wasn't just an empty space at the palace. That void, a space created entirely by human anger and political fear, well, it became the absolutely essential first step for a divine plan to begin unfolding. What on the surface looked like just another political tragedy was actually the necessary prelude for a hero to rise.
Which brings us right back to the central question of this whole incredible story, doesn't it? What was really driving all of this? Was it just the unchecked pride of a fragile king, the calculated political fear of his advisors? Or was it all, somehow, part of a much bigger, unseen divine plan? You know, maybe the real answer is that it was all three, all perfectly woven together to create this amazing narrative,